Hi everyone, this is Mr. Osborne's U.S. History 1 class. Today we're going to be going over our federal government, the three branches of the government, and how their checks and balances work so they can balance the power out so not one branch of our government becomes too powerful. And we are going to start off with the executive branch, which, as we know, is headed up by the president, and underneath him, the vice president. The vice president only has power when the president can't fulfill his duties anymore, whether he's very sick or he's assassinated, like in the case of John F. Kennedy or Abraham Lincoln, for some examples. Underneath the vice president is the cabinet members, which is made up of like the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, and underneath them is the independent government agencies that work for them, like the FBI, for an example. And the executive branch, their responsibilities is to enforce laws and keep our country safe. The uh, the executive branch has some powers over our other two branches, but those two branches also have powers over the executive branch to keep balance. The next branch we're going to go over is the judicial branch, which is at the top, the Supreme Court, which is the um, most powerful court in our country. Underneath them is the courts of appeal, and then underneath them is the district courts, and that goes all the way down to the local town level courts. So a court case only comes up to the Supreme Court if it's gotten past all the appeals and has to be decided on. The responsibilities, besides that, of the Supreme Court is to interpret laws, and they can determine whether laws are unconstitutional that are written by Congress. And so we're going to get into the legislative branch, which is also known as Congress right now. It's broken up into two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Now, the House of Representatives has many representatives. It's determined by population. So, a state like Texas or California, which has a lot of people, they have a number of representatives to match that, unlike states like Connecticut or Rhode Island, which have few people, so they're going to have fewer representatives for that house. But the Senate works differently, where each state, no matter how big or how many people they have, only get two senators, and they serve both senators and Congress men and women serve terms of 6, and I think House of Representative congressmen serve terms of 3 years, but they can be elected as many times as they like. They can serve for as long as they want. There are many senators and congressmen that make careers in their respective houses. And the responsibility of the legislative branch is to write bills that can be approved and become laws. So now we're going to get into the checks and balances of these three branches and see what powers they have over each other. Now, when the legislative branch writes a bill, they send it to the president, and he gets to either approve it and it becomes a law, or he can veto it, which means he doesn't approve of the bill and it goes back to the Congress and they have to rewrite it or start over, and they have to keep doing that until the president approves the bill that they're trying to get passed. And the Congress also has the power to impeach a president in extreme situations, which means the president is removed from office. That's only happened a couple times in our country's history. Moving on to the judicial system, Supreme Court justices are appointed by the president. So a Supreme Court justice serves for life. So when the president picks someone to replace another member of the Supreme Court, they are serving until either they die or they retire. So the legislative branch gets to, as you can see on the chart, approves federal judges, which means when the president picks someone to become a Supreme Court justice, they have to approve it or they can decline it, and the president has to come back with a different nominee, or he has to try again. Now the Congress has only a certain power that neither the other two branches are. They are the only branch that can declare war on another country. And the last time that's happened is actually World War II. All other conflicts since then were presidential actions that he can do without the approval of Congress. Now, the powers that the judicial branch has over both the president and Congress are the judicial branch can determine that a presidential act, like going to war with another country, is unconstitutional if it's not approved by Congress. And likewise, the judicial branch can determine whether or not a bill or a law at that point is unconstitutional, and they can overturn it and make it not a law anymore. Okay, so I think we've covered all of our bases with these three branches. Please feel free to watch this video again, reference the chart, and I hope this helps our understanding of our three branches. Now, our activity tomorrow in class is I'm going to break you guys up into groups of three, and in the groups, one person will be the executive branch, another person will be the legislative branch, and the third person will be the judicial branch. And you guys can use the internet or whatever you want, and I want you guys to research uh, current people who sit in that branch. For like an example, for the executive branch, I want you to look up who the president is, who his vice president is, uh, who sits on his cabinet, and for the legislative branch, I maybe you could look up our state, New Jersey senators and representatives in the House of Representatives, and the judicial person can look up our Supreme Court justices and maybe the head justice as an example. All right, guys. Like I said before, thank you for watching. You can reference this at any time, and thank you, and have a nice day.